I want to also acknowledge the presence of the Guardian newspaper, represented here by MWAN, and a number of other media houses that are here this afternoon. Thank you very much. We have very short time, and so I'm not going to continue with acknowledging everybody that's here. But please allow me to say that you're all very welcome, and it is indeed a privilege. I would like us to say a short prayer. One of the things on our agenda is that after all our celebrants, the women we are celebrating today, the women who have made huge contributions.
Professor Okoye, we cannot hear you.
We are losing your voice, Professor Okoye.
Yeah, we cannot hear you.
Can you still hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So I was just passing off to say that
Professor Okoye, we lost your audio again.
Hello? Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to end with a short prayer. As a part of the agenda is a prayer for all these amazing, outstanding women who have made it possible for there to be an increased volume of clinical trials going on in the African region. After they have made their, giving us a short 6-minute presentation of what they have been doing to do exactly this, for which we are honoring them on this International Women's Day. So Lord, we thank you. We appreciate you for making this possible. It is only you that could have made it possible at this very short notice, and to gather all these dignitaries from across the world. We fully bow down and cast our crowns this afternoon and acknowledge you as our all and all. Lord, please be the full chairman of this event, and we ask that you will do for us exactly that which you are good at, and which is the perfection and ensuring that you truly exceed our expectations. In Jesus' mighty name, we have prayed. Amen.
Amen.
Yeah, thank you very much, Professor Okoye, Honorable Minister, distinguished Director General, ladies and gentlemen. So briefly now and quickly, we proceed to the next item on the agenda, which is the chairman's opening speech, titled, "Why Are We Here?" And that will be taken by Dr. Anthony Ikeme. Dr. Ikeme, are you here?
I saw him a few minutes ago, but when I was talking,
okay.
I actually didn't see him. So I don't know if Professor Dedina can take part on, but I tried to quickly see if he's having issues with logging in.
Okay, so what a pleasure for me to, I consider it a great honor to be inviting Professor Folakemi Odedino, who is the international PI for CaPTC. She's a professor of hematology and oncology at Mayo Clinic, which is the topmost, clinical and hospital in the US. And someone said if it's the best in the US, perhaps the best in the world. In fact, I can spend the whole time, trying, giving a talk about Professor Dedino. So, Prof, I will just save us a lot of the time and hand it over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Dr. Professor Rotimi. Thank you a lot. It's such a pleasure to be here. And I want to go ahead and I recognize everybody that is on, the Honorable Minister, the DG, NAFDAC, my dear friend, Professor Okoye. I'm sorry I'm unable to put on my camera. As I expressed to Professor Okoye today, I sort of been a little bit under the weather, so I'm happy to be on because I cannot say no to her. What I would like to briefly do is, first of all, happy International Women's Day to all the phenomenal women who are out there. You are all doing great things, especially, Black women. I really give you kudos for everything that we are doing. I've been tasked with sort of providing a quick update on clinical trials in Africa, but I'm going to much more focus on what our consortium is doing in Africa, specifically in Nigeria, and highlight some of those things that we're doing. First of all, I just cannot start without wishing my dear friend, Professor Ifeoma Okoye, a happy birthday. She's a woman of God, an awesome wife, mom, ageless, golden sister, brain, beauty, and class. And I am so proud to call her one of my closest friends. And I think God has just designed it for you to be in my life. I just want to recognize you. And I thank God for your life, and I thank God for you. So I'm going to quickly move on and talk about clinical trials in Africa, specifically in Nigeria, as updates. We are talking to the choir. I'm not going to focus on the definition of clinical trials, but I want to focus a little bit more on the NIH wide range definition of clinical trials, because a lot of people only think about interventional therapeutic trials, but clinical trials is much more than that. It could be mechanistic trials, it could be exploratory, it could be looking at feasibility. And then we have the more, the also important behavioral trials that is so crucial to African populations for us to be able to change our behavior and modify our behavior relative to chronic diseases. We have done a lot, and I'm not going to talk about it. So I'm just going to point you in the right direction of, if you want to know more about clinical trials, I work very closely with Professor Okoye and Dr. Delva Shamli to be able to do series of webinars that we've done over the years that also has included representative of NAFDAC. But here is the link. If you want to know more about clinical trials, there are several modules that are out here that you can listen to on the eCancer website that talks about the ABCs of clinical trials, talks about how to go about doing clinical trials. So I will point you to that. In addition to that, for those who know me, I'm just a little bit tired of talking about the challenges and talking about the barriers of clinical trials. We wrote a special series publication in the JCO Global Oncology that puts the light on clinical trials. I was so proud to be a guest editor alongside with Dr. Ginsburg, just highlighting emerging and operational issues that has to do with clinical trials. Again, here is the link. Feel free to take a photograph of this and go and take a look at what we found out the operational issues, the challenges, and the solutions for clinical trials in Africa. Just to give you examples, and this is free online, so you can access it right now and you can read all the articles. We actually did two series. One series was focused on the challenges, the solutions, and the other series was gave examples of clinical trials that were going on in Africa. So these are free online through JCO Global Oncology. We talked about the landscape of oncology clinical trials in Africa. We talked about how to engage patients, mHealth and clinical technology, partnership, ethical and regulatory aspects, SWOT analysis, operational strategies. There's quite a lot that you can get online that we have talked about. So now I want to briefly focus, because I don't want to spend too much time, on what is our consortium doing in the area of clinical trials in Africa. First, I think it is very important. I know we are focused on clinical trials, but it is very important to note that it's not only clinical trials that we really need to focus on, but we need to focus on the steps that will lead to clinical trials, because Africa, including Nigeria, is still lacking in the area of basic research, disease discovery, drug discovery, preclinical development. Before we go into the clinical trials and go into the manufacturing, we need to know that some of those things are to our populations. And so we really need to be doing all this research that lead to clinical trials in addition to clinical trials. So what I would like to highlight is what our consortium is doing in these different areas and some of the initiatives that we have in these different areas. First of all, I'd like to acknowledge the leadership of our consortium, the Prostate Cancer Transatlantic Consortium. I am so proud of the work that our team especially is doing in West Africa and in Nigeria. We have so many people who are leading and so many PIs that are in West African sites. I'm sure this is dated. We have more. And I want to especially recognize quite a number of our CaPTC investigators who are on this webinar today. So first of all, what are we doing to even prepare ourselves towards clinical trials? Very proud of one of the contracts that we got from the NIH National Cancer Institute and Elidus Biomedical Research that is really for the first time going to allow us to be able to look at proteomics and genomics of the Nigerian population. This is really very unique. And, I want to recognize the leadership of Professor Solomon Rotimi in pushing this thing forward. We are not only looking at prostate cancer, this contract allows us to be able to look at other areas of cancer as well, breast cancer, liver cancer, kidney cancer. So I'm very excited about this work and the ability for the first time to start doing the analysis that focuses on proteomics and genomics analysis of our population. I also want to recognize a familiar cohort study that is actually conducting not only genomic analysis, looking at biological samples, but also looking at environmental and behavioral as well as clinical data that we're going to be tracking about 2,000 West African men and Black men in the United States over multiple years to be able to understand prostate cancer in this population. We have another NIH NCI grant that focuses on pancreatic cancer, also basic research that is looking at prostate cancer tumor biology of pancreatic cancer. And I want to recognize the leadership of Doctors Nkom, Ogo, Dr. Abidemi Omonisi, as well as Professor Rotimi as well, in being able to the first time look at how we compare pancreatic cancer in Nigerian men versus Black men and look at the cancer tumor biology of this as well. This is going to lead us to unique discoveries that will allow us to tailor care to our population. In addition to that, we have a vitamin D trials that we are opening up and it's sponsored by Mayo Clinic, led by, of course, my dear friend, Professor Fiamma Okoye, as well as Professor Popola, as well as Professor Rotimi, myself, and many other CaPTC investigators in Nigeria, is going to look at the immunological effects of vitamin D replacement in both African American as well as Nigeria patients as well. We're just released some funds to do NAFDAC approval, IRB approval, and to open up the study in Nigeria. Really one of the things that we almost can't not still believe that we got this grant by competing with really a lot of institutions in the United States is the establishment of this Inclusive Cancer Care Research Equity for Black Men Consortium, which would allow us to be able to do different trials focused on African men in Africa, as well as Black men in the United States, looking at prostate cancer. And the whole goal is to do different kind of trials, as I mentioned to you earlier on, not only intervention trials, but look at mechanistic trials as well as behavioral trials. We just received the funding award of phase 1, $2.3 million US, and our phase 2 is going to be 10 million direct costs, about $15 million total, including indirect costs. This study is led by Professor Solomon Rotimi for Africa, and I believe we have 6 or 7 African countries that are going to be participating in it. The first phase is going to be for the first 2 years, but it's going to, the whole ICARE Consortium study is going to lead us into 2027. And the clinical trials is going to be both phase 2 as well as phase 3. Also proud to be part of the MWAN study led in Africa by Professor Popola, and looking at outcome studies and looking at the different care and treatment outcomes and therapeutics that are being used by Black men. This study actually, for the very first time, our consortium is the one that brought it to West Africa, and our consortium has actually been recognized when we did the opening by the PCCTC group as the most recruiting consortium immediately that we opened up. So we are very excited about this, all the studies that are really coming together to allow us to better understand diseases, especially cancer in Nigerian men. In addition to that, our consortium is leading the African Cares Network. We already developed a website that people can go to look at clinical trials, oncology clinical trials that are happening across Africa. Mayo Clinic is actually currently helping to really strengthen that website and look at into app application before we launch this. So this is something that is coming, look out for it. It's really going to provide really quick public access to oncology clinical trials in Africa. So I would like to end. I hope I did not use too much of my time. Feel free to contact us. These are all the folks that you need to contact. Also follow us at CaPTC7 on Twitter, and my Twitter handle is at Dr. Dedno. Thank you so much. And I would like to stop there. Again, congratulations to all of us, and big recognitions for all the women today and the outstanding work that we are all doing. Thank you. Thanks, Professor Rotimi.
Thank you very much, Professor Dedino. Outstanding as usual. We're grateful to always have you join us, inspire us, and lead us. Thank you very much, ma, for showing us the way and also leading us through the way. Thank you so much. I'm not sure there's somebody that wants to ask. Festus, do you have a quick question that you want to direct at Professor Dedino? Okay, your hand is up, so I'm not sure whether that is. Okay, right now.
The chairman is here now.
Oh, okay. Chairman, well, thank you very much for joining us, Dr. Anthony Keme. We are happy to have you, and we'll be glad right now for you to spend, take the next 5 minutes to tell us why we are here. Dr. Keme, over to you.
Thank you so much, Solomon. And I really apologize for dialing in late, calling in from Westchester, US, and we had some time difference mix-ups here. But it's really a special privilege to be in your midst, because oftentimes we fail to realize the importance of women, not just in our lives in general, but actually in the evolution of various professions. And I really think this gathering is very critical, not just because I know Professor Okoye, but because you cannot talk about clinical trial development in Nigeria without talking about women. And I will start by first highlighting this point, because whenever we choose to recognize a particular section of the society, people always complain. I will use the US as an example. A slogan called Black Lives Matter was started here in the US to recognize how Black lives have been trivialized. And oftentimes those that misunderstand will go, but why do you single out Black lives? Why not all lives? So somebody could question, why not all, pioneers of clinical trials in Nigeria? Why just women? But let's be honest with ourselves. This world has mainly been a very chauvinistic world. And oftentimes we use terms that fail to realize how important it is to recognize the sexes equally. We say behind every successful man is a woman. I know many women that really have seen the light, and men alike that have seen the light, realize that the best way to put that is beside every successful man is a woman. Because men and women play different roles in the society. They see things from different perspectives. And for the humanity to have the fulsome power of the existence, you have to merge both perspectives. So it's not that one perspective is superior to the other. It's just that one is one half of the human experience. And so singling out women is to actually make sure that underrepresentation of a gender in human life is not missed. That's one point. The second point is that indeed, as I alluded to in the beginning, women have played a very pioneering role in clinical trials in Nigeria. I was lucky, or I have been lucky to have worked with quite a number of the women identified for recognition on this platform. Professor Okoye, as you all know, is the founder of AGCPN, Association for Good Clinical Practices in Nigeria. And I've been involved in that, driving that initiative for long. I believe I set up the very first CRO in Nigeria. And the confidence to do that came from AGCPN, being an institution that went around the country advocating for clinical trials, educating people about clinical trials, enlightening people about clinical trials, both at the private sector and also in the public sector. We collaborated a lot with NAFDAC to make that happen. You can also look at NAFDAC, the agency responsible for regulating clinical trials, who have been the champions, who have been the leaders of that institution, to start from Dora Akunyili, who was a very, very, very successful DG of NAFDAC. And currently you have Professor Moji Adeyeye, who is one of our colleagues here and a member of an organization who I led until last month, who is currently the DG. So women have also played significant role in other ways. There are all the women listed here are powerful, successful pioneers. I recognize Mimi Dako from Ghana, who I've worked with, Ghana FDA, Professor Dedina. Who doesn't know Professor Dedina? Professor Henrietta Oku, who is my colleague here in the US, who has also been a member of NAPSA, and so on and so on, Yvonne, and also my fellow warrior, AGCPN, Antonio Robo. So the point I'm making is that not only have women, do we need to integrate and recognize women for the work they have done, they have indeed led in Nigeria when it comes to clinical trials, and that should not be ignored. Finally, I think that in a gathering like this, on a day like this, International Women's Day, where women's role in our lives is being recognized, that it is awesome that we are using that same day to recognize. And in fact, it's interesting that today is also her birthday, a woman that I respect very much, Professor Okoye. I've worked with Professor Okoye since, I believe, 2006, when we found ourselves through some common acquaintance and people that we know. And I remember Dr. Ogu telling me, oh, you need to meet Professor Okoye. I remember Kelechi Lawrence telling me you need to meet Professor Okoye, just because of the work I was doing in the US. And I met her and we've worked together on a bunch of things. And I'm just proud for the life she has lived, how she has been a glue, bringing so many of us with interest in the expansion of clinical trials in Nigeria together, creating a platform for us to be able to drive that initiative. So my opening comments here is just to highlight not just the role of women in clinical trials and the role they have played in Nigeria, and the need to highlight and to integrate those roles in the mainstream of advancing clinical trials and, of course, healthcare in general, but also to say kudos to Professor Okoye for living such an awesome life that has made a day like this possible for recognizing clinical trials and the role women have played in it. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ikeme, for that, opening remarks, for letting us know that we are here because women are supposed to be side by side with men, and we shouldn't lift one above the other. Right now, we will be receiving the remarks of the special guest of honor in person of the Honorable Minister of State for Health in Nigeria, Dr. Adeleke Olorunimbe Mamora. Honorable Minister, sir. Yes, we can hear you now, sir. Yes.
Right. Thank you very much, Prof. Let me start by saying congratulations to Professor Ifeoma Okoye, who, as we have been told, is also marking her birthday today. And that is quite significant. I just got a call yesterday from my friend, Professor Patutomi, who requested me to be part of this very wonderful engagement this afternoon. So here I am. Professor Okoye, thank you very much. And through you to the team that has put this together. And I thank you for inviting me to this special event, marking the 2022 International Women's Day. And it's a webinar showcasing powerful women in the clinical trial space with the theme, Disrupting Paradigms in Emerging Markets, especially in African clinical trials. The message you sent to me this afternoon, you did say that we're not just marking International Women's Day, but we're also celebrating the beauty, the diversity, and achievements of some women, all Africans, strewn all over the world. And I think this is highly commendable. And looking back to our days in the medical school, and even in clinical practice, in the various specialties of medical profession, many of my own female classmates, they have risen to become icons in their chosen endeavor. It is therefore my honor to be part of this groundbreaking session that encourages our women champions that have taken to clinical trial studies or research that even some men will want to avoid where possible because of its rigorous nature. Imagine and reimagine diseases call for concern. Before the 27th of February 2020, Nigeria was in its usual state and everyone could go about his or her normal business. That suddenly changed with a lockdown that almost crippled our lives and livelihoods. Gratefully, we are gradually returning to our usual self, but that would not have been possible if not for powerful women like you and men alike that are constantly on the field conducting clinical trials, including venturing into new therapeutics that may possibly herald better management of COVID-19. Furthermore, champions among our medical women like you will do a great job to have good representation, or better put, representative data of women in clinical trials. More women are likely to enroll into a clinical trial if they see you lead the process, like you're rightly doing at the moment. The importance of considering the differences between the male and female sex in clinical decision-making is crucial. However, it has been acknowledged in recent decades that clinical trials have not adequately enrolled women or analyzed sex-specific differences in data. Those far-reaching challenges or deficiencies have hindered the progress of understanding women's response to medications. What I see now is a renewed hope as we work towards the inclusion of women in clinical trials and appropriate analysis of sex-specific data from clinical trials will enjoy better awareness. Distinguished colleagues and erudite women researchers, may I seize this opportunity to appreciate you immensely and encourage you to continue to ventilate our clinical research ecosystem with your unparalleled doggedness and resilience. Infectious diseases in the sub-Saharan African communities still remain a huge challenge, and we need those of you marked for recognition today to go a step further, to venture into local and international clinical trial studies to address malaria, Lassa fever, tuberculosis, HIV/AIDS, and other infectious diseases. You need not stop there. The non-communicable diseases and the neglected tropical diseases require that Nigeria keys into studies that will minimize to the barest possible these emerging diseases. Distinguished participants, while thanking you for your kind attention, I wish you robust and very successful deliberation. Once again, I say happy birthday to Professor Ifeoma Okoye, and thank you for inviting me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Thank you for the wonderful speech. I think the take home there is that beyond celebrating women, in our research and our clinical investigation, we must also encourage women participation, and we must also present our data in a sex-stratified manner so that we're able to understand how the data present itself, particularly when gender becomes a factor, which it is actually. Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Right now, we will now proceed to the meat of the event of today, which is the recognition of the women who have performed outstandingly well in conducting clinical trial in this part of the world. However, before I proceed on that, I got information that we have joining us also this afternoon, Professor Chinedu Babalola, who is the Vice Chancellor of Christland University in Abeokuta. Prof. Professor Babalola, you are welcome, and we're excited to have you here with us. Now, quickly, I will now invite Professor Moji Christiana Adeyeye, who is Director General of NAFDAC, to please proceed with our presentation. Yes, we can. Oh, you need to be unmuted. Okay. Just a minute. Professor Okoye, who is in charge of, who is going to unmute Professor Babalola?
Okay.
Okay. Yes.
I would like to recognize again the Honorable Minister of State and all my colleagues, my women colleagues that are present here, and also the chairman of this occasion, Dr. Ikeme, my friend from NAPSA. I'm going to just talk through my slides. I couldn't share it, unfortunately. I want to say happy birthday to Professor Okoye, whom I've known for possibly about 14, 15 years through Dr. Ikeme. And I will just give an outline of my presentation, where NAFDAC used to be, achievements of the agency, and the conclusion. Where was NAFDAC 12 years ago, memory lane. In 2010, I was a professor at Roosevelt University, and I submitted an application for bioequivalence through a virtual company to FDA to study the bioequivalence of fixed dose combination antiretroviral drugs. And Dr. Ikeme was also part and parcel of the beginning of that clinical trial. For that particular trial, I got IRB approval from Duquesne University. Switched over to Roosevelt University, I had to get another IRB approval. And of course, the international site, which is MWAN University Teaching Hospital, used to be Baptist Medical Center. I had to get an IRB approval from that institution. So 3 IRB approvals, and with FDA approval to study the bioequivalence of this fixed dose combination for pediatrics. The submission was made to NAFDAC July 2010, hoping that by October at the latest, we will start. Between that July and October, I asked Dr. Ikeme to come with me to train my research partners in Ogbomoso. And we did the training. He did the training, which was very successful. And by the way, this particular project was the research project of 2 of my PhD students. So we waited to get approval. I never knew that there was no relationship at that point between NAFDAC and NREC. So what took 3 months for FDA to give me approval for, took 3 years in Nigeria to get approval. I almost gave up. I will not share the type of information that I was asked to present. It is a shame to share it, so I will not share it. It took 3 years, but finally we got it. We did a clinical trial in Baptist Medical Center, now MWAN University Teaching Hospital. And of course, there was no laboratory as such around to analyze, because it's a fixed dose combination and validation of assay, extremely important. That was what I was teaching. So I couldn't just be very careless about it. So what we would do is we would dose from Monday to Friday, because one of the drugs has a very long half-life. And I had to get my own generator. I had to get my own freezer to make sure that if there is power shortage in the hospital, there will be a backup. So on Monday, following the first dosing, we rush the samples to Lagos, get dry ice, frozen samples, of course, get dry ice and ship to my laboratory at Duquesne University, where my students were still, finishing up their research. That was how we were able to do clinical trials. And in terms of talking of Nigeria, you've got to decide whether you want to do something in Nigeria or not, because there are so many factors that may chase you back. But I stuck to it, and the data was sent back to FDA, and FDA had no CAPA on the data. And my students, of course, graduated successfully, and the rest is history, not knowing that God was preparing me for NAFDAC. Because the experience that I had in NAFDAC, I will not wish it on my worst enemy. So position as Director General. Immediately that I came, I realized that the agency needs complete change in philosophy. What we did, the first quarter, immediate adoption of quality management system, ISO 9001. We started doing self-auditing in preparation for the certification for ISO 9001. We also embarked on WHO global benchmarking, ISO 9004. I know precisely January 16, 2018, which is roughly 2 months after I assumed duty. What have we done since then? In B to get better, NAFDAC has developed a robust quality management system, like I mentioned, to undertake self-audit or self-assessment, internal audit, external audit, helps to mirror the agency's position, thereby creating improvement opportunities to promote enabling environments in the conduct of clinical trials in Nigeria. Expression of interest for Nigeria to be benchmarked by WHO was actually sent first quarter of 2018 with a favorable outcome that we should proceed. So 2018 to 2021, the WHO global benchmarking identified 53 areas for improvement for clinical trial in order to enable growth to a maturity level that will build more confidence in the system. And this cuts across legal provisions for clinical trials, regulatory framework, assessment of clinical trial application, conduct of good clinical practice inspection, capacity building programs, among others, transparency in dissemination of information. At the beginning of this global benchmarking, of course, clinical trials had 53 recommendations that we needed to meet up with, but the agency was being audited on 7 regulatory functions. Clinical trials is just one of them. And the total of those recommendations is 868 recommendations for us to get to maturity level 3. We started the journey. June 2019, WHO came for the first time. We have reduced those recommendations from 868 to 146. And we continued, of course, COVID-19 came, took some time away from us. By July 2021, we have reduced that to 33. And by September 2021, when WHO came again, this time virtually, we have reduced to 3. By October 2021, we had no more recommendations to meet. And WHO just came to do the re-benchmarking on February 21 to February 25, which was just less than 2 weeks ago. They are looking at our data now that we presented, and they will give us the final result in not so distant a future. So what have we done? We have taken care of 868 recommendations. We've made them to become 0. That is what we can do in this country if we put our minds together to do what will benefit our nation. What are the regulatory instruments that we had to take care of? Clinical trial regulations needed to be gazetted before it can be accepted by WHO. We did all those gazetting. September 2021, we finally finished, we finally gazetted all of them. We started writing guidelines. They are available as guidance documents on our website. These guidelines help to elucidate rather, and expand the requirements of the regulations, but are non-binding on the applicants. The guidelines are hosted on our website, nafdac.gov.ng/drugs/clinical trial guidelines. We also started digitalizing our space, because without digitalization, you can never be a strong regulatory agency or an establishment for that matter. You cannot do business. So we have guidelines for submission of clinical trial progress reports. We have guidelines for clinical trial protocol development, for good clinical practice guidelines, guidelines for importation and release of investigational medicinal product, clinical trial process timelines for pediatric populations, so many of them. We have all this on our website. COVID-19 came and phase 4 has to kick in because phases 1 to 3 have already been done by the different manufacturers. We had to quickly roll up our sleeves to make sure that we are able to catch the adverse events following immunization. And with a partnership with WHO or collaboration, we were able to get what is called Med Safety App. And that Med Safety App, which is a digitalized way of reporting ADRs or adverse drug reactions, made us to more than have a 20-fold increase in our reporting. From less than 2,000 in 2015 to over 25,000 in 2021. That is what changing our philosophy, having a quality system and doing a benchmarking of your processes, that is what it does. We also have capacity building of regulatory personnel. You know, we partnered with Ghana. Some of our staff went to the Excellence Center for WHO Regional Center for Regulatory Excellence in Ghana. We added more staff as part of our quality management system or global benchmarking. We also started collaborating. In fact, I realized that very, very soon into my own tenure because I knew what I had to suffer for 3 years. So I personally called the chairman of NREC, and the rest is history. We started with an MOU, and since that time, we've been having joint meeting, capacity training of stakeholders, joint protocol reviews. We are also partnering with different international clinical trial groups. We just finished signing an MOU with BioVenture of Global Health, BVGH USA, for capacity building activities for NAFDAC officers and REC members. So NAFDAC is not sleeping. NAFDAC is moving on, and it's moving on strong. In conclusion, NAFDAC is using good regulatory practice and good reliance practice with international best practices to deliver, to ensure that anybody that is coming to Nigeria for clinical trials will not have to go through what I went through for 3 years. Clinical research is a window for all to bring professional experiences. More women are needed, as this has been said. And the regulatory framework, extremely important. NAFDAC has grown leaps and bounds, and to God be the glory. NAFDAC is ready to provide much guidance in achieving other goals. Thank you very much, and God bless. Happy birthday to Professor Okoye. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Adeyeye, for the elaborate presentation on the outstanding strides that NAFDAC has made under your leadership in improving clinical trial in Nigeria. We're grateful for all of these achievements. Briefly, we'll proceed on to having the presentation of Mrs. Delese Mini Dako from Ghana FDA. Mrs. Dako, we appreciate if you could make it under 5 minutes, ma'am.
I think.
Yeah. Okay, while we're waiting for her, Professor Okoye, do you still want Professor Rednor to make another presentation? Professor Okoye, do you still want that?
Sorry, what was the question?
Do you still want Professor Rednor to make another presentation?
I know. She doesn't.
No. Okay, because she already made a presentation. Right now, we'll proceed to Professor Henrietta Uku, who is the Chief Regulator for America's Novavax Vaccine Company. Professor Uku, please.
She sent a message. She's in flight, so she doesn't know if she would have arrived at her destination before the event is over. We'll call her at the end if she's here. That's fine.
Okay. In the meantime, while Professor Adeyeye was making our presentation, I believe we were joined by the President Nigeria Cancer Society, Dr. Al-Hassan Umar Adamu. Sir, you're welcome, and we are glad that you are able to join us. Okay, right now, let us take Professor Chinedu Babalola, Professor Babalola, who is the Vice Chancellor of Chrisland. Please, Professor Babalola.
Can you to the back, please?
Okay, can the host please make the opportunity to share our screen or something like that?
What I say, just put me, let other people speak. Let me come in.
Oh, okay, no problem. Let's right now proceed on to receive Professor Ifeoma Ulasi. Professor Ifeoma Ulasi, please, from UNN UNTH.
The host may need to help to unmute her.
Okay. Good afternoon.
Welcome, Prof. Please, we appreciate you to make it under 5 minutes.
Yeah, not quite up to 5 minutes. I want to say congratulations to all women today as we celebrate the International Women's Day, and with the team to break the bias, which I think most of us are doing. And I also want to say happy birthday to Professor Koye. Your birthday seemed to fall into a very important day, so you have to be celebrating your birthday on every International Women's Day. Mine is just to talk a little bit about how I got into clinical trials being in Nigeria. And with all the challenges and all the hassles, you would have listened to Professor Adeyeye and her presentation, where she highlighted some of the challenges we face and maybe still face, but I think it's changing. Way back, as a medical doctor, before you come out with from your residency, you do some project. And during doing my project, I realized I enjoyed discovering things, finding things, new things make me excited. So as soon as I finished that, I went into sort of doing other researches. But in our country, it's not that difficult. But somehow I want to say that God has actually helped me on my path. One thing I did was I decided to network a whole lot, to attend different conferences. All my professional conferences, I happen to be a nephrologist. All our International Society of Nephrology conferences I have attended for well over 20 years, and all other important conferences. And one thing about attending conferences is that you can network and meet people. And through these conferences, I have networked and met people. So most of the times, all the clinical trials or projects or researches I've done is through meeting people either at conferences or that people have seen my papers or my articles in journals. I would take myself back to, that was, I think, 2009, that we had gone to Berlin for International Society of Hypertension Conference. And after the conference, we had a satellite in Thessaloniki, Greece. And I made my way to Thessaloniki, Greece. That was where I met Professor Jan Stassen. It's a well-known icon in hypertension, and I got introduced to him. That took me on to be part of the NOAA study. The NOAA study is the newer versus older antihypertensives in African hypertensives. We did that study in Nigeria and 2 or 3 other countries in Africa to show that that Exforge was better for us in Africa because they had amlodipine, that it controlled hypertension better than the comparator we were using at the time. So that was one research gone. Another time I had a conference in Seville, Spain. And there again, I met a friend. And at this time, they were starting this novel and very important research everybody knows about now in Africa. The H3 Africa Consortium was just being formed. And, you know, while we were talking, she said to me, this is what is happening and all that. And as soon as I got home from that travel, I had the invitation to join them in the H3 Africa Kidney Research Network, to be part of them. And that has been rippled into so many studies ever since 2013, one study to the other, and all that. So that has really kind of given me a quantum leap into studies. And right now, when you talk about research or talk about clinical trials or stuff like that, I get invited by different CROs to be part of different researches. I want to also say that I was keenly listening to what Professor Adeye was saying, because we had an issue last year concerning the vaccine trial that should have happened in Nigeria, was happening in all African countries, or no, about 5 African countries, and Nigeria was one of them. It never did go on in Nigeria because of issues that had to do with NAFDAC and MREC and the sponsors. So there's still a little bit of things we need to tidy up with our regulators so that we don't miss out in such researches. That said, I think I will end here. I hope you have learned a few from my little experiences in clinical trials. Thank you so much. Ifeoma, happy birthday. Thank you so much for inviting me to be part of this. I also want to thank the Honorable Minister for his speech and encouraging women. And of course, Professor Dedina had already written something in the chat. Thank you very much for your talk. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you very much, Professor Olasi, and thank you for your leadership in that regard. We are very grateful for leading the way in nephrology research as it relates, particularly on the platform of H3 Africa. Thank you very much, ma'am. Now we go on to receive Pharmacist Shalom Lloyd. I don't know if she's here, please. Pharmacist Lloyd. Okay. Now, if she's not here, let's go ahead and take another person from Ghana. Okay, I think that's Pharmacist Von Adu Boahen from Ghana FDA. Pharmacist Von Adu Boahen, please. Yes. Can the technical person in charge of technical thing unmute her, please? Please, we need her to be unmuted.
Can she put up her hand so we can identify?
Yes, I think she's unmuted now.
Okay.
Oh, she's muted back.
Hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now. Thank you.
Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Honorable Minister. Good afternoon, Professor Ifeoma Ikoye, the host or the convener of this program. Good afternoon, DG Nigeria NAFDAC. And I would like to bring greetings from Ghana, especially from our DG, Mrs. Delis Darko. We are privileged to be here and honored to give our experience and how we were able to also effect some impact or some changes in clinical trials and its conduct in Ghana and Africa. I was so happy listening to all experiences, and most of them are not too different, I'm sure, from ours, and also I'm sure from our neighboring countries, our sister countries. In Ghana here, regulation of clinical trials started back in 2004. However, this was just an approval and some few conduct of GCP inspections. But believe you me, in the course of these, when the act or the regulation changed to the current one, which is more broader and more detailed, the FDA had to do a lot of work. So currently, I am the head of the Clinical Trials Department of the Food and Drugs in Ghana, and I have been the head since 2012. I believe that if we want to go far, I always say this, unless we go together. So in trying to put in place good and friendly and more practicable compliance to regulations in Ghana, we're also looking at our neighbors and see how we could also effect that changes. And so Ghana is the current ISO certified, accredited in our works, and even in our labs as well. And then also in Africa, Ghana has attained WHO Global Benchmarking Maturity Level 3, especially in the oversight of clinical trials in Ghana. This means a lot to us, and I'm sure it means a lot to our neighbors as well. It means that we have put in processes that have standardized the way we do things. And currently, I'm sure most of our researchers are happy with this, and even our neighbors. In doing all this, with a strong teamwork and all that, we realize that Ghana cannot do this by ourselves. It is important that we also impact on our neighbors as well. And so there was a call by the AMRH NEPAD, which is currently the NEPAD Audi. We had the opportunity to be designated as the Regional Center of Regulatory Excellence under my leadership and teamwork, and in fact, under the leadership of our current CEO, Denise Gako, as well. So together we were able to do this. We were excited and we are still happy about this because it gives us the opportunity to share our experiences with our neighbors. By so doing, we have been able to train our colleagues, our regulators on the continent, about 54 of them. So as researchers, I believe that with all these, we've been able to put in place and systems, our neighbors and everyone on the continent, we are doing things alive. I'm happy to inform you that the chairman of the current RRF of the WHO is Dallas Darko, my CEO, and she's also very passionate about trying to harmonize our effect on the continent. And you can bear with me that the conduct of clinical trials in Ghana and on the continent has improved tremendously. We believe this is not the end, it's just the beginning, and it will change more to create the enabling environment to be able to search for safety, more safe, efficacious, and quality medicine, especially to pertain with our race, our genes on the continent. Being a pharmacist, it has been my passion that we definitely will have to look for medicine that suits us, that is safe, efficacious, and quality for our youth. I wouldn't like to bore you much. I would like to say we thank you for this opportunity, and Professor Okoye, happy birthday, and to all women on this platform, I wish you happy Women's Day. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We're grateful for that presentation. Speedily, we will now proceed on and receive. I'm not sure if Dr. Shamli is here. I'm not sure. Dr. Shamli, Deva Shamli, if you're here? Okay, now we go on to Pharmacist Antonia Orobo. I know she's here. I've seen her. Can someone please unmute Antonia? Pharmacist Orobo. Yes, she's here. Okay, yes, you're unmuted. Please go ahead.
Hi, hello everyone. My very warm greetings to everyone in the call, from representatives of the country and states, health institutions, to everyone on the call representing various organizations. I want to start by saying thank you to Prof and happy birthday. Such a pleasure knowing you. I think before I just say a little bit about what I have done, I will be missing a lot if I didn't mention the role that Prof has played. So tell you a little bit of a story. In 2006, I think it was in August or September, I had been working in clinical trials for 2 to 3 years, and I was fresh out of uni. So with that experience, I had a dream, and my dream was to transform clinical trials in Nigeria and bring back everything that I had learned. And it was a random search in, as I say, August or September of 2006. And I was just wondering what's happening with GCP in Nigeria, what's happening with clinical trials. And I came across some information on the AGCPN, an AGCPN program that was going to hold literally in October, so the next month. And I reached out, I think via email, to Prof, and I met one of the most warm, open, hardworking, kind people that I ever met. She invited me, and I believe even sort of took care of my accommodation. I hadn't been back to Nigeria at that point for something like 10 years or so, and that's where the journey began with my involvement with the AGCPN. In that time, I have participated in sort of various clinical trial conferences. But what I remember most fondly and what Prof facilitated was allowing myself and a lot of my colleagues that I see on here, Anthony, to just provide training and provide our experience to potential and actual clinical trial personnel within Nigeria. Some of the people that have been on sort of these conferences, I see Prof. Olasi. I've also had the opportunity to work with the ACTC. I see Prof. Odedina, and all of this, to be honest, was facilitated by Prof. So I just want to take this opportunity to give you your flowers now that they are due, and to say thank you for being such a unifier. Thank you for being such a harmonizer. You have been extraordinary. Thank you for paving the way for us. Thank you for all of your hard work. It's much appreciated. We see what you do, and we continue to support you. And I do have to run to a meeting, so I'll leave it there.
Oh, thank you very much, ma'am, for that brief presentation. Right now, we proceed on to receiving the presentation of Mrs. Rosine Onya, who is the founder and CEO, Clinic Research. Clinic Research Development Limited. Thank you.
Hello, yes. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, good. So good afternoon, everyone, and happy International Women's Day. Happy birthday to Professor Okoye. And I'm going to stand on existing protocol. So I'm going to talk about my journey into research and what we're doing here in Nigeria. So I started my journey about 17 years ago in the United States. And I had the opportunity to work with pharmaceutical companies and also some CROs based out there. And while working there, I realized that most of the farmers didn't want to come to Africa. And we all know the reason why they didn't want to come. But as a Nigerian, I felt bad because I expected that, I expect that with what we have back home, the expertise, the people, we should be able to contribute to the data that's been generated. But that was not the case. And when I had the opportunity to come back home, I was like, this is the best time to do this. And clinic research was launched. And ever since, we've been working with CROs and pharmaceutical companies looking to come into Africa pretty much. Most of them on fact-finding mission, asking about our regulatory processes, how they can get into the country. And looking at 2012 to 2022, now that's about 10 years, a lot has changed with our regulatory processes. I knew it was very difficult to get information from NAFDAC like 10 years ago. And now it's 2022. I mean, we can go on the website and we can get most of the information we need when it comes to regulatory approval. So, which is very good, and kudos to our DG on that. And so we've been working with pharmaceutical companies, and also another thing we do is to work with our sites, our clinical trial sites here in Nigeria, to help them in getting prepared to getting prepared to receive these trials when they do come, because they need there are things that needs to be done, getting prepared, having the site prepared, knowing the right things to do to make their sites more attractive to the pharmaceutical companies. And I can say that over the past 10 years, we can really say that there's been a lot of improvement in that sector. We've had opportunities to work with a few sites, federal medical centers, and some private hospitals also interested in research. Yes, and also I'm also the convener of the Clinical Investigators Summit, and this was conceived out of the passion to see our sites, our clinical trial sites, being exposed to the global world, being exposed to global village, because when farmers see us or they think about Africa, they don't know what to expect. And having us come together as a group, as researchers, farmers, CROs, all of us under one roof, would help in changing the narrative. To know that we're actually on the right path and we know what we're doing. So really, that's what we've been doing in a nutshell, and I'm really happy to be here in midst of a lot of great women and men doing great things in this clinical research space. Thank you.
Thank you, Roseanne. Next, we'll receive Adebukola Telufusi, Executive Director of Exin Research.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Happy birthday, Professor Okoye. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to showcase our work. We are indeed glad that clinical trials is picking up. But I'd like to say a big thank you to you, especially for your mentorship within the industry, and also within my personal growth, and also our company, Exin Research. So my passion actually started right from childhood to improve the healthcare industry in Africa. Wanting to become a doctor, but should I say fortunately or unfortunately, back in the States, instead of going to med school, I ventured into clinical research. And when I started clinical research, I fell in love with it. But one thing I realized was that Africa wasn't actually on the map, and the only country that they considered as Africa was actually South Africa. So at that point, this was as far as I think about 2022 or so. As of that point, I said to myself, you know what, I really want to change the landscape. I really want to be part of this. I really want there to be access to innovation medicines in Africa. And I also want Africa to be on the map and to be part of that data, starting with Nigeria. So I started out, looking into Nigeria, looking into the landscape to see what's out there. And I found AGCPN, which I was able to connect with Professor Ifeoma Okoye. So we started, I was part of one of their conferences that they had in 2015, which actually opened my eyes to a lot of things. And I remember that day giving a presentation and I said, you know what? I actually want to start up a CRO because my mission initially wasn't actually to start up a CRO. What I really wanted to do was to touch the world, to especially Africa, to improve the healthcare system in Africa as a doctor. That was my dream. But as of when I started coming back to Nigeria and meeting the likes of Professor Okoye and other professionals within the clinical research industry in Nigeria, I said to myself back in 2015 that, I wanted to start up a CRO, and the CRO basically will help to bridge the gap of clinical research in the landscape of Africa by working with, pharmaceutical companies, global CROs to bring more trials into the region. And luckily today, I can say that we actually started out as a team of 5. So we were initially 5 with the company Exene. Exene was actually registered in 2015 after that conference, Professor Okoye, just to let you know. So we started off with a team of 5, but I can tell you today that we're about 57 within the continent. And we are actually conducting clinical trials in Nigeria. We've been able to partner with a pharmaceutical company who's working on sickle cell disease. And, we've been able to secure about 6 ongoing trials in Nigeria. And then our global reach is also in other African countries in Kenya, Uganda, and Ghana as well. So it's indeed a privilege, for meeting, the Africans in the industry in Nigeria, and also Professor Okoye for paving that way for us, to be able to showcase, the landscape and also to improve the healthcare landscape in Africa. So I really want to thank you for giving us that opportunity. Happy birthday and happy Women's International Day to everyone on the team. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Buki, for that presentation. I believe we now have with us Dr. Deva Shamli. Deva, are you here, please? Just to let me be sure. Okay. While we're waiting for her, Professor Babalola is now ready to make our presentation. Prof.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. When this meeting was going to take place, I was going to have Senate, and Senate meetings are statutory meetings in the university. So I tried so hard to see how I can fit it into the 3 to 5 window. So I've had to hand over to another professor and to be with you. First, to say happy birthday to my dear sister. I don't know how to describe her, Professor Okoye. The Lord will just bless you. And for me, I want to recognize all the wonderful people here. I overheard that the Minister of Health was here or is here, the DG of NAFDAC. I met her talking, and a lot of all of you are wonderful. I recognize you. This is a very special day. It's also my daughter's birthday, so it's special. For me, I'm a pharmacist, and I started out my career, of course, going to pharmacy school, and I've enjoyed being in that space. And I've been in the
area of research, teaching and research. And I just love drugs in human. That's me, you know. I just love to know how drugs do in human and how humans handle drugs right from beginning, right from beginning. So indeed drug metabolism that in human, and I samples from almost 1,000 patients and human beings. So we look at how drugs and effects, the concentration of drugs or the level of drugs, what they do, how they move around. With my lecturer would say drug in, around, and out. Okay, so with that, you are able to design dosage regimen. And after my PhD, I realized that, look, the result I got is pretty much different from some other races. So that moved me on to looking at pharmacogenetics, pharmacogenomics, and I did find out that, look, we're all different. One dose does not feed all. So immediately after my PhD, I went on to gather more information and do more research on pharmacogenetics, and I found that most of the time, drug discovery takes place in developed countries, and then we are the people in Black. So I'm very passionate about drug design, drug trials in books to make sure that we are doing optimum doses and monitoring them in human, and that's what I've been doing. So from there on, I also look at what I call post-market surveillance, bioavailability, bioequivalence studies. And by the grace of God, I've graduated many students, many PhD master's holders, looking at drug interaction, looking at pharmacogenetics, looking at pharmacokinetics in our population. And that has given us a lot of information about how we process drug. Many times we are worried about what the drug does to the body, but we also know that we are all different, and one man is another man's poison. So we've gone to look at pharmacogenetics in sickle cell patients, looking at a particular enzyme that processes proguanil. We've also gone to that's CYP2C19, and it was interesting that even amongst Blacks, the way sickle cell patients process the drug is totally different from the way healthy subjects do. The difference is night and day. The same vein, we've looked at hypersensitivity of sulfur drugs. If people start getting text messages, oh, it is fake, they put something in it. It's all a lie. There are certain people, certain individuals, poor metabolizers, that are going to have serious adverse reactions with that drug, and sometimes it is fatal. So having this background, I've been able to work on clinical trials with my colleagues in College of Medicine, and physicians, people a lot a day, and that has opened the window for us to look at ethics of clinical research, be able to teach that. That has led us into clinical trial anti-cancer medicines. We've completed one, and we're doing one right now. That has made me to develop interest in oncology pharmacy, having worked in that space of cancer. So I'm again on the oncology group, one that is being monitored by my dear colleague here, Dr. Odedino. So I provide support in the pharmaceutical space with respect to clinical trials. And when we're doing the clinical trials, we're looking at the pharmacogenetics, pharmacokinetics. Finally, is the fact that when I became hungry that, look, we need to turn our research to products, I led a group that wanted to set up Center for Drug Discovery, Development, and Production. And there, it has expanded our scope, looking at drug design in silico and all of that. And then also looking at natural medicines. Right now, I have a grant with
debt fund, and some of those products we need clinical trials. Let me stop it there, but that's a space I have worked in. And I've also participated in Professor Koye's ACG, the Association of Clinical Trials, and all that. Thank you very much, and God bless.
Thank you very much, Professor Babalola. We appreciate you taking that time out of your busy schedule and even stepping out of Senate meeting to join us on this meeting today. We're very grateful. Next, we're going to have Kemi Williams, who is the Vice President, Clinical and Regulatory Affairs at 54G. Kemi, over to you, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you're doing well. Happy International Women's Day to all the ladies. I really want to thank Professor Ifeoma Okoye. You have been a leader and a pioneer in this field, and I really appreciate the way you've also engaged and partnered with me when I return back to Nigeria to see how I can contribute to the clinical research ecosystem. I want to recognize all the wonderful people here, DG of NAFDAC, with the Honorable Minister, with the representative from Ghana FDA, Professor Dedina. I'm very much impressed with all the work you've been doing. It's amazing, actually. And that's one thing that I found out since I started doing some work in Africa, is the amazing people we have with great talent. And I feel very humbled to be part of this group here. Thank you again. And Professor Ifeoma Okoye, happy birthday to you, and hoping we can celebrate with you soon. So my short story, I fell into clinical research about 22 years ago. In fact, it was in my last year of undergrad. I was really curious about how to apply computer science methodologies and principles to the world of life science. And then I got a job as a clinical research associate at a company that was developing a molecule that could shrink uterine fibroids. And as many of you may know, of course, there's a high prevalence of uterine fibroids in Africa among Nigerians as well. And I've had family members who had this. And so having an opportunity to be part of a company that was looking to see how we can avoid doing surgery and just shrink really got me to fall in love with the whole aspect of developing drugs, validating them for the right population, and then bringing them to the market. And I've been in the industry since then. So I've worked starting out in the pharmaceutical industry in the US, and then went into medical devices, cardiovascular devices, and then also into diagnostics.
All right.
But I'll tell you that my passion for really seeing what we can do in Nigeria started when I was in the space of cardiovascular diseases. We were doing heart failure studies. We knew that many African Americans in the US actually have many of the symptoms that we were looking to treat. But then when you look at, and many women, I would say, but when we would do our accountability table after we write a clinical study report, these people were virtually missing. And that was when I started noticing that there was a huge disparity in terms of how we were recruiting patients for clinical trials. And as you know, if you were never really tested on a particular drug during the clinical research a point of development, you cannot really be sure that that drug is safe and effective for you. So you can imagine if women are missing, if African Americans are missing, if Africans are missing from many of the clinical trials that we are doing to bring drugs to market, how can we really be sure that those drugs are good for them? And so I got curious about looking at how we could close this gap. Actually, I started engaging with the FDA in the US about how we can increase the population of minorities in the clinical trials we were doing. And so one of the ways we could do it was to come to Africa, right? But then like one of my other colleagues mentioned, when you think Africa, or well, in many of the huge biotech organizations that I worked in, when they thought Africa, they thought maybe one or two countries in Africa. They weren't thinking of all of us. And you can tell that Africans are actually very diverse. So picking a subpopulation of Africa, including them in a global clinical study, doesn't necessarily mean that you've tested that molecule safely and effectively for them. And so after doing about 20 years in the industry in the US, looking at how we can close this gap, joining lots of groups, members of many societies that are looking to see how we can close the disparity gaps in clinical trials, I got a call from 54Gen. 54Gen is a company that is also looking to close the disparity gap in healthcare, but they're doing this through precision medicine. And so they're looking to find a way to identify variants that are endemic within the African genomic pool and developing drugs that would address any of those variants that may be linked to a particular disease. And as you know, this is an area that we do not have a lot of people playing in. And so when 54Gen called me to look at how we can work together, yes, we were actually very aligned in our missions. And so I was very happy to be able to come back to the continent and help drive their vision to run end-to-end clinical trials, phase 1 through phase 4, bioequivalence, preclinical studies, and fact as well. But my approach and the way I am hoping that we can continue to engage is to do, I believe, what pharmacist Yvonne had to say. I think she said something about together we can go far. I really believe in partnership. I really believe in collaboration. I've reached out to many people that are part of this webinar now, looking at how we can come together to help drive the vision of being able to do effective, scientifically sound research in Africa. My goal is that anyone can take our data to anywhere else, and they can demonstrate that we've collected that data in a way that meets the quality that you would expect of any global study. And so I look forward to having a chance to partner with as many people as we have in this forum to see how we can help drive the healthcare industry through clinical research in Africa. Once again, I really thank you for this opportunity. I really feel humbled to be part of this group, and I look forward to continuing to engage with all of the people here.
Yeah, thank you very much, Kemi, for what you and the entire team at 54Gen you are doing. We appreciate it. We know how impactful it is and how the much impact the signal will have in the future of genomics research and precision clinical care in Africa. Thanks a lot. And now we'll receive pharmacist Shalom Lloyd for a brief remark.
Hello, everyone. I hope you can hear me. Thank you for having me. Standing on existing protocol. Happy birthday, Professor Okoye. You are absolutely amazing. I'll be quite brief. My name is Shalom Lloyd, and I am based in the UK. I am a pharmacist by qualification. Have worked in drug development for the past 26 years, both for CROs, where I started my career, and also for pharma. My journey in drug development did not actually, Africa honestly did not feature in my drug development journey. I was quite happy doing what I was doing, working in so-called global clinical trials, which didn't really include Africa, apart from South Africa, like somebody else mentioned. My journey into clinical research in Africa is somewhat more personal. My father was diagnosed with cancer, a very stubborn man who didn't want to come to the UK for treatment. And I was convinced that if there was a trial running back home in Nigeria, my father will still be with me today. And that was one of the things that led me into Africa. And of course, we had a lot of you on this call. We met in Vienna also to talk about how we can facilitate drug development in Africa. And Professor Okoye was there. This was a few years ago. And all of this combined led to the formation of EMQT, a company called Emerging Markets Quality Trials. And I'm the co-founder of EMQT. EMQT really exists because, like many of people have said, really, although 17% of our world population of African descent, about 3% of patients of us get involved in clinical trials. I mean, the stats are there. I'm standing on what a lot of people have already said. Currently, 95% of cancer patients in sub-Saharan Africa are diagnosed way too late. If you have cancer, it's a death sentence. But Africa is that rising billion. By 2050, I believe, it will house more than half of the world's population. And what this gives pharmaceutical companies is access to drug-naive patients. It gives patients access to medicines, and it gives, healthcare professionals, like many people on this call, access to medicines for their patients. For me, it's a win-win situation. Africa benefits, pharma benefits, and that's why I am in this industry. When we ask pharmaceutical companies, what are the barriers? What's stopping you? They are perceived barriers. Some of them are real, of course. There's the infrastructure. You know, do we have facilities? There's experience. Do we have healthcare professionals? Culture. You know, ethics and regs. Is that VUCA? Africa is volatile, it's uncertain, it's complex, it's ambiguous. And for me, my passion is to try and answer to that VUCA and get pharmaceutical companies to be a bit more confident to run trials. People ask, is EMQT a CRO and SMO? We're both and neither, to be honest. I think it was Kemi who talked about it's about collaboration. We all have to work together. We've developed innovative tools. We have something called ATOM, Assessment Tool for Overseas Markets, and we're using that to map out centers of excellence in Africa. We have our platform Insight, which is a knowledge management platform to train doctors, to train researchers, ICA, GCP, whatever it is, to get our researchers on par with their global counterparts. So I'm really proud of what we're doing. I'm really proud of this gathering. October last year, with the support of Professor Koye, we ran a breast cancer and cervical cancer screening event where 450 women were screened with cervical lesions identified and 1 woman breast cancer uncovered. So we have no choice but to do this. I'm really proud to be here. I'm really proud to be amongst all of you. I'm looking forward to meeting some of you and working with some of you in the future. And, you know, thank you again. And Prof. Dalu.
Thank you very much, you know, for Mrs. Lord, for what you are doing also. We are very grateful for everyone that has made a presentation today. We acknowledge the giant strides that you all are making. Thank you very much. And to wrap it up, I'll be inviting Professor Ifeoma Okoye herself. And Prof, we just have 7 minutes to the end of this program. So it's your take now. Professor Okoye.
On mute.
Okay.
Can you invite the others behind me?
I think
it's
I've
proper.
Yeah, I think I've told you. Is there anyone that I missed?
Yes, Professor Okafo. Professor Henriette Okafo.
Oh, maybe when I called her, she was not. Okay. Professor Henriette Okafo, please. My apologies, Professor Okafo.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Oh, Prof, please pardon me. I'm so sorry.
I'm not surprised. I'm a pediatrician, so they say we are children. I'm not surprised you missed me.
I'm so sorry. Thank you.
Well, I'm glad to be here. And I also plead to stand on existing protocol to talk a bit about my experience in clinical research. First of all, I want to wish Professor Ifeoma Okoye a happy birthday. And we've come a long way. Incidentally, she was my classmate in medical school as well, a sister, a good friend. And we happen to share the same passion and interests in research. However, I am a pediatrician by profession, so my own research activities are focused on children. So, and what drives me in research, I must say, is the quest to bridge knowledge gaps and to solve clinical problems. At the time I started off clinical research about 20 years ago, the commonest problem then was malaria in children. So my focus really is in malaria research. I got involved in clinical trials, and I participated in the clinical trials that changed the policy of malaria treatment in the country. I was the national principal investigator for the Southeast Zone. And during that trial, we discovered that the Southeast Zone had the highest level of resistance to chloroquine and sulfadoxine pyrimethamine. Subsequently, we went on to try out other drugs. And since then, I've been involved in all sorts of malaria-related trials and activities. Previous speakers have said it all. It's not easy conducting research in this country, a lot of hurdles, but I'm happy that people are still interested in it. One thing I must say is that, children are not small adults, because you find that at times some of the policies that are being made are based on trials conducted on adults. But we need to try out some of these drugs in children as well. I'm also a pediatric nephrologist, and then for some time now, I've been trying to see, is there any relationship between malaria and some of the common problems we have in children with kidney diseases, or does it modify their clinical presentation? So I'm really glad to be here, and I'll be happy to collaborate with anybody who is interested in malarial trials in children. Now, I once again would like to congratulate Professor Ifeoma Okoye. She's been a great, motivator. She's, I love her passion for research, and I wish her all the best. I wish her many more accolades in her life. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Okafor. We appreciate you so much. Thank you, and my sincere apologies for missing that. Thank you. Yeah, Professor Okoye, now over to you, please.
Oh, wow. I'm blown. This has definitely exceeded my expectations. And I really want to thank God that gave me the vision to put this together. It's always been my birthday. Just 1 second, please. So apologies, I had to speak to the person that was going to give us concluding prayers. It's been quite a journey, and it started with looking around and really feeling quite concerned that we were losing the lives we could save all around us. And a number of us concerned in the teaching hospital where I work, kept on brainstorming until we went for one conference in one African country, forgetting which one of them, of the West African College of Surgeons. And we found out that definitely there was a need to go into this clinical trial because somebody opened our eyes to all, we could do to get us into the sector. So we came back as a team from that West African College of Surgeons, and actually the people that motivated us were from UI. UI is always leading. We have to give it to them. They're always leading more or less a lot of things. And when we came back, we brainstormed and we started making an effort to reach out to see how we can change the paradigm. And it was in the process of doing that we realized that the most effective way we could quickly get ourselves into global relevance was to ensure that our data will be more or less put in more organized form, retrievable form, and we started looking for assistance for us to be able to do this. And whilst I was visiting England, I heard somebody talking about clinical trial. In curiosity, I went across, listened more, asked questions, and came back and decided to invite him to come and mentor us and train us. In the process of that, he wasn't the person that eventually came, but we had over 20 facilitators from all, from Europe, from Canada, from the US, and from Greece. We didn't know how it happened. Must have been God that just ordered our footsteps, and we had over 20 in Enugu. It was at the time of that catastrophic plane crash, happened a few days before they could come into Nigeria, and I thought that was it, they wouldn't come. That's the one that took the life of Mrs. Obasanjo. But they did, they came, and they came all the way to Enugu, and we had over 63 people. We partnered with NAFDAC from inception, they were there, and we had, a lot of interested researchers from across the different institutions, from all over Nigeria. And our journey started that at the end of it, they advised us that the world will not reduce their standards to accommodate Nigeria. So we had to raise our standards. And the best way to do that was to start an association for good clinical practice in Nigeria. And guess what? The headship of the association was unanimously, I was voted to take over the mantle. And that was how Association for AGCPN was formed. And just picking back a bit, we went on to engage with the Ministry of Health, NAFDAC some more, and the National Assembly. And we had everybody on board. In fact, in our meetings, we'll have the Senate President seated, we'll have the 2 ministers for health, and we'll have the DG NAFDAC, and everybody was on board. And the Federal Ministry of Health would engage with all the institutions under them to send participants. And so that was how we coasted and had so many participants that will come in. Sometimes we had 100, sometimes we had 63, and we're doing every aspect of training, including at a time we did that of training monitors. And so we produced the very first monitor that came out of Nigeria. Prior to that, all monitors were coming from South Africa across board. And so we also did a training to encourage those who were interested from the diaspora to set up CROs. And that was when we started having the emergence of CROs in the country. So the infrastructure, we also worked with NAFDAC, looked at their regulatory documents, we did trainings for them, we did a review after 2 years, and everything was just moving till we thought to ourselves, listen, we are ready. Africa, we started with Nigeria is ready, we did a summit, and then we followed it up with an African profile because our Ghanaian sisters, Mimi Dako, Yvonne, and some other people from Ghana were attending. So we expanded it to be Africa is Ready 2017. And there came Professor Odedina into the scene. And she virtually transformed every paradigm narrative and moved everything forward. And African Clinical Trial Consortium was formed. And with that, we started pushing for increased volume of clinical trials, from across Africa. And of course, we had faculty that was dedicated, people that were flying themselves into the country, and they were Nigerians in the diaspora, notably the chairman of this occasion, Dr. Anthony Ikeme. And one of the celebrants here today, Antonia, I used to call her Antonio, and selflessly, they will fly themselves in, they'll give up their time. And for several years, a lot of investigators were trained across the country, but they were twiddling their thumbs looking for clinical trials. they couldn't find clinical trials. And so it was looking at what China did. And China started doing summits to attract the attention of sponsors across the world that something was happening in China. And we said, okay, let's emulate them. And through those summits, truly, we started having CROs, and we started having increasing, at least you heard it from Exim Research CEO, Buki, that she came, because of it. And so many others, even Rosian, was part of our clinical trial summit in 2017. And so that's been the journey. And I am really, really so glad of what has been happening. The increased volume is slowly, gradually improving, and our regulatory systems are getting better. There's harmonization of clinical trial regulations across Africa, being championed. You could see, you heard the testimony from NAFDAC as well as Ghana FDA. And of course, the emergence of the African Drug Alliance. I hope I got that right. And all these infrastructure, including the different consortia, which we have had the opportunity of listening to them, and different investigators that have on their own, attracted, have increased the volume. Then one particular critical thing we are trying to push now is sorry, the call came in. So one particular, can you still hear me, please?
Yes, Prof. Yes. Okay. But if you can round up quickly, Prof.
Yes, I'm rounding up now. So one particular critical thing that has happened is the creation of clinical trial units, of which the UNN Center for Clinical Trial is one such unit being used as a template to encourage African countries to actually embrace the system of creating clinical trial units that will be focused centers of excellence that will be GCP compliant and being given quality management ecosystem being given to them that will enable them to have the proficiency that sponsors will have the confidence of to increase their siting of clinical trials in the African region. So I'm done, and I want to appreciate everybody, including you, Professor Rotimi, for last minute becoming the MC. I want to thank the minister and Professor Dedina and all our amazing party. Over has 79, Professor Moji Adeyeye. Please, I really want to appreciate you, Ghana FDA, and every other person that has been here to give us the support. Please, thank you so much. Honorable Minister, I really appreciate the fact that you stayed on, and I'm sure that you know exactly where we are standing at the moment in Africa, and I hope that we can engage more with the ministry in order for us to, come together, not only the Nigerian Ministry of Health, but the ministries of health across Africa, as well as the different tertiary institutions. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much, Professor Okoye. Please, may I now invite Dr. Abidemi Omonisin to close us with the vote of thanks.
Please, before he goes on, I just wanted to say one more thing to the celebrants. Please, we are going to continue this journey after this meeting, and that is to ensure that the global community get to know what you have been doing, and through that level of pushing the borders in that way, I believe that is going to bring in increased attention to what is happening in the African region. Thank you so much for all your sacrificial work. Thank you.
Right. Dr. Monisim, please.
Thank you very much, Professor Rotimi. Wow, indeed, women are real architects of our society. And I want to join others to say happy 2022 International Women's Day. Unfortunately, it's not part of our culture in Africa to celebrate people where they are still living. But I think we have succeeded this day in changing narrative, by celebrating our women, particularly those who have contributed immensely, in clinical trials, not only in Africa, but in the world. So congratulations. So on behalf of the founder, our mentor, the visionary, our trainer, our leader, the founder of CaPTC, Dr. Mrs. Folakemi Odedina, and also the convener of this meeting, she also doubles as the director of clinical trial for CaPTC, Professor Ifeoma Okoye. Sadly thank every one of us for being part of this meeting. Particularly, permit me to thank a very amiable and well-distinguished senator, doctor, Minister of State for Health, Dr. Adeleke Mamora. Thank you very much, sir, for being part of this meeting. It's important to say that the Honorable Minister actually is still on court in this moment, and we know that it's very difficult getting the Nigerian ministers as part of the program, particularly if I invited them give them a short notice. You have a few days to package these events together, and we are very grateful, sir, for honoring our invitation. I also want to thank DG NAVDAC, our well-distinguished professor, Professor Njenje Adeyeye, for being part of this program. Thank you very much, ma. We must also put on the record that CaPTC enjoy excellent relationship, with NAVDAC. We partner in the past, and we also discussing to find a way to launch the vitamin D trials that Professor Odedina, mentioned earlier. I want to also thank the president, Nigeria Cancer Society, our big brother, Dr. Hassan Umar Adamu. He's always with us. He's a brother of CaPTC, friend of CaPTC. Anytime we have program, we invite him. He always joins as part of this program. We also want to appreciate the Dean of Faculty of Clinical Sciences, State University, Professor Joseph Fadare. He's also on call. He's a physician, also clinical pharmacology, and he is also a member of the clinical trials group of CaPTC. Thank you, sir, for coming. We thank all our powerful women that we have celebrated today. I don't want to enrich of our time. I can go through the list again, and also thank everyone that have joined us, CaPTC member worldwide, in other countries, Ghana, in UK, in America, in UK, in US, that are part of this program, and others also that joined from other platforms. Thank you very much for being part of this program. We are very grateful. Over.
Yeah, please, before we take the closing prayer, may we just quickly have a group photograph. So if you could just on your camera in less than 1 minute, we will just take we'll take this screenshot from here. So I'll just count up to 5 so that we all get set. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'll start taking. Okay, just a minute. I've taken the page 1. I think there are about. Come down. Okay, so I go to the next page.
Everyone put a permanent smile on. You don't know what page you are on.
That's the truth. You're absolutely right. And I go to page 3.
You did not make us to laugh but more than smile.
We need it for the Pinky Prof, Professor Okoye.
Yes, the best, one of the best.
Yeah.
She's gonna share them. She's gonna share the pictures.
Yes. So it's right now with Dr. Monisim, and I'm sure Professor Okoye will get it. But I think the first page sort of changed. Some of us now, on our camera. So let me just take the first page again. Yeah. Okay. Right now we see the Honorable Minister. Yes. Okay. Thank you very much, everyone. Professor Okoye, we should now take the closing prayer. Who is taking it, please?
Yes, okay. And before we take the closing prayer, I actually failed to recognize that my other half has been with us. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Prof. Your husband is here.
My other half is here, Engineer Sir Chris Okoye. And so that, as Debo says, so they won't carry my property out. I don't know.
Okay, we recognize you, Daddy. We appreciate
It's been an amazing support in this journey, because he will tell me that 20 women do what I'm doing, they will all be dead and buried. So you can imagine the little time that I've had to give him the service he needed. He's been very, very patient. So thank you very much, my darling. You're part of this journey of 68 years and this journey of clinical trials, giving all the support, and Njenje TV that is covering us and giving us live streaming is all because of his intervention. I want to thank Professor Pat Utomi and the Honorable Minister, every other person here. Thank you. I want to invite Dr. Chefo Geoffobri. Team by Design Nation was a partner in this effort, and I'm inviting him. It's not been easy, still quite a heavy task on them, and I'm praying that they will this. Thank you.
So before the prayer starts, I just want to, on behalf of all of us, say thank you to Engineer Sir Chris Okoye, because beyond what Prof said, I can say that he also wrote checks to support AGCPN at the beginning. He funded projects, he did whatever was necessary to make AGCPN succeed. Thank you so much, Sir Chris. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Closing prayers, please. Professor Okoye is supposed to do the closing prayer. I think the person is muted.
Yes, it's muted. Please, Dr. Chefo, can you raise your digital hand so that I will be able to identify you? I'm finding it difficult if you're using another phone to join in. Otherwise, we can call on Colin Obo.
Dr. Chefo is having difficulties logging in, but he's still trying.
Okay. In Jesus' name.
Amen.
We want to thank you, precious Father, for this program. I want to thank you for all the great women that you have used to make a lot of impact in Africa and in Nigeria and even in the world. We also especially want to thank you for Professor Ifeoma Okoye, who has convened this program today. We also thank you for her birthday. We also thank you because she is a gift to us all, to the world, to women, to her family, to the Living by Design Nation, and to research, clinical trial research in Nigeria, in Africa, and even in the world. Lord, we thank you. You are the repository of knowledge. You are the one that gives knowledge. And Lord, we're asking that you continue to give these women wisdom and knowledge to carry out these researches. And that at the end of the day, that they will find solutions to problems of women. Listening to all of them, our hearts have been warmed. There is hope, and they have, through their work and research, they've brought a lot of hope to both children, women, men, and our communities. We ask for life, we ask for strength, we ask for help, that you continue to help and uphold these women. And thank you for all the agencies that are here represented and our leaders. We ask that they continue to be support even to these women in the name of Jesus. Thank you, Father, for everything that has happened here today. We give you praise and we give you thanks in Jesus' mighty name. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Thank you all. Bye.
Bye. Congratulations.
Happy birthday again, Prof.
Bye. Congratulations.